Where you get your beats?
HustleDreamProduction.
Alright you guys, so before you actually start cutting, what you want to do is comb the hair out, alright, especially when it comes to wavers, alright. There's a difference between somebody with waves and a waver, and right now what you're looking at is a waver. So what I'm doing is combing the hair out. This lifts the waves off the scalp, making it easier for the hair to feed into the teeth of the blade. While combing, you also want to check for any cowlicks. You want to actually ask your client if he has any cowlicks in the front, because you're going to have to attack that area differently by going with the grain of whatever direction that cowlick is going in. So as you can see, I got my 2-guard on, going with the grain with the lever open, all right? The same direction that I comb is the same direction I'm gonna take my clipper and go with the grain in, all right? I'm staying away from that crown area. My client's crown is kind of thin, so we wanna keep that area a guard size higher. So I'm gonna go with a 3 on that crown area. I want you guys to pay attention to the direction of the waves, all right, because that plays a big part in which direction the clipper goes into. So I like to know that if the waves is going straight across, you could go down on the wave, all right? But if the wave is going at a slant, you're gonna have to go across the slant. And I know that without me just like telling you what it is, it's kind of hard to imagine in your mind, but really the waves are actually telling you which way you could cut. So again, I'm going with a 3-guard around my client's crown area. That way it can be as thick as possible and look as full as possible. And the way I'm going around it is kind of like in a swirl like shape, because he's trying to develop that swirl. And all clients have this swirl, not just wavers, just everyone period has this swirl pattern. So make sure you go around the crown just like this. So my client wanted, well, he really wanted a low taper, but whoever cut him before had basically took his taper up too high. So I suggested a high taper just so everything could come together and look presentable. I'm using my Babyliss FX and I'm setting the bald line straight. This is actually gonna be a high-low taper, so I'm gonna try to keep everything as low as possible. Now using my Stylecraft instincts with the lever open, I'm going up not even a ½ inch, man. I'm going up barely a ½ inch. And I'm just going over that guideline multiple times to ensure that it's at that length, because remember, I want to keep this fade low. Now putting on the 1-guard with the lever open, I'm going up that same width, making sure that I scoop out, brushing the hair down as I go, just to make sure everything is neat, man. The worst thing you could do is just start cutting, not brushing the hair back in place, just cutting on a sloppy canvas in general. It's just not a good look when you're trying to make sure everything is neat. So next, I'm gonna put on my 2-guard and just kind of clean up the bulk at the top. I'm really not doing too much of nothing, but you know, it's just basically double checking your work. Next, with the 0 guard, with the lever fully closed, in a flick out motion, flick out that middle line. Now it's gonna be hard for you to see the line because the taper is so low, but do the best that you can. And just use your corners, man. I can't stress that enough. The corners, taking baby steps is a must when you're trying to perfect your blend. Now, with the lever fully closed in a flick out motion, flick out that bottom line. Again, you don't want to keep the lever fully closed the entire time. As you go up, adjust your lever, all right? You don't want to keep putting in guidelines and having to reset guidelines and bringing the taper higher and higher. So make sure you adjust your lever. So after you went through, you added your guidelines, you took away your guidelines. Last thing you want to do is detail work, all right? Detailing sets you apart, man, from just being a regular barber. How many barbers would you know just be okay with the blend and how it looks right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, be more than just average. You know what I mean? Take that extra step. Look in the mirror. The mirror shows you a different perspective on the blend than just seeing it head on. You know what I mean? When you're doing these fades, your eyes are so locked in that it's like, when you look at something for so long, you can't really see it anymore. You know what I mean? So you got to gain a different perspective. So that's what I like to do. I like to use the mirror and just point at different areas where I could improve. And trust me, your clients will appreciate it. Now, I'm not saying to take super long on the haircut. I'm not saying to just drag it out. But what I am saying is that extra detailing counts because the client will actually notice, especially like say you cut your client on the first try and you didn't really do your best because, you're not familiar with your client's head. If he comes back to you and you put your all into it, you give it your all, he's gonna know the difference between last week's haircut and this week's haircut. So make sure you go all out for your clients and detail as much as you can. Now, as far as the back goes, I feel like the back is a lot easier because it's a wider area to work with. Right now, I'm putting in my bald line, basically using the same steps that I did on the sides. I'm using it on the back. Next, going up with my instincts with the lever open, going up about a half inch, and I'm going over the guidelines multiple times to make sure that it's at that length. And you want to make sure that your guidelines is neat as possible. Next, with the one guard open, going up that same width, but this time I'm basically kind of scooping out so I don't go too high. Right now I'm going in with that 2 guard, basically clearing out that bulk that's on the top. Ultimately, this is not gonna take out fully. Going with the grain would be a better way to try to just lighten up that area, especially because my client has waves. So going with the grain sometimes is a better solution. So next, I'm gonna close the lever on that 1 guard and basically just soften up that middle line. This is not gonna take it out. This is just like softening it up, taking baby steps so you can take it out fully with the 0 guard closed. So now with the zero guard closed, it makes it a lot easier for you to take it out fully. All right, so I'm using my corners. It kind of don't look like I'm using my corners, but I'm really using my corners and taking those baby steps as I go across. Now, in some cases, that zero guard does not take out that middle line. I just go with the lever open and just kind of detail and do some corner work to knock out those bulk areas. Now with the lever fully closed, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna take out that bottom line, and you'll see me adjust my lever every so often. That's because I'm adjusting my lever as I go up. So now when I start my lineups, I always prep the line. I always basically spray some spritz or holding spray, something on my client's edge up to lock the hair in place. And when I go to line my client up, I always start in the middle first. The reason why I start in the middle is because you're basically taking the short way out. All right, you're not going from one end to the other, making the distance super long to try to make that line up straight. You're just starting in the middle, boom, going to one side. That distance is short, making sure that the other side is lined up with the side that you lined up. All right, it just makes it a lot easier. All while trying not to push my client back. When I'm working on these vertical bars, a lot of you guys ask me, how do I get that point on the edge? That's because I tilt the blade slightly on both ends, right? When I'm pressing down. You gotta get some liners that actually hit too. Like you can't be cheap and think that you could just go out and buy a standard stock blade and it's just gonna hit outside of the box. Nah, you gotta adjust your trimmers and you gotta adjust your blades. It's a lot more to it than just putting on a trimmer blade and expecting it to work as good as you see mine. I actually buy my blades from the best. I think it's the bestest barber. The best. Listen. If you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? It'll be in the comments section. But it'll be in the description below where I get all my blades from. But yeah, you gotta spend. Now you don't think you could just get a $30 blade. Now I think these blades are like $60. So you gotta spend to get the results that you want. When I'm working on the neckline, I basically start in whatever position my hand rotates best. All right, so I'm just holding the ear down and just basically trying to knock off all of those baby hairs and get it as circular as possible around that ear. on this side, what I'm doing right now is just brushing the hair down. That way everything is stretched out. And I'm using my left hand to line up the bottom, and I'm gonna switch to my right hand to do the circular, lining around my client's ear. It's just a better rotation for my right hand to do, all the symmetrical work. Now, when it comes to enhancements, the enhancements that I use is called Kiss Express Black. Okay, I mix that with alcohol 50-50. Now, when I apply the enhancements, I try to spray at an angle. I don't spray directly on, because that's gonna leave like a splatter, kind of just like say if you just drop some water straight on the ground. No, you want to have that like fade effect. So you want to basically spray at a 45-degree angle. So how I apply the pencil is that I use the full side of the pencil. I don't set it in to a point. That's just not my style and not the way that I like doing it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want a pencil straight, ash line. I basically want it to be wide so it looks, nice and boxy. And this is just my personal preference when it comes to my unique style. You want to make sure when you're doing the razor line that the skin is nice and stretched. Any sort of like give will cause you to dig into the skin and cut your client. So what you want to do is basically stretch the skin and trust the process. A lot of beginners, that's what they fail to do. Even when I started out real scared, not really trusting the process. And it's really all about just stretching your skin and letting that blade glide on the skin. So with any waver, what you want to do is you want to finish the cut with a freehand trim on top. Now, you got to be careful when you do this, especially if you're starting out. You might want to grab some shears and start that way if you're not comfortable doing this, because you can slip up and gouge your client. You know what I mean? I've only been, I can say that I've never done it, but I have come close to where I took off a little bit more than, was necessary. And that was early on. So you got to actually know what you're doing when you're doing this freehand trim. Listen, let me tell you why they call me 360. When they sit in my chair, I spin them in a full 360, and they come out looking like God did. YouTube, this is the cut. And if you like it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. Also, HustleDreamProduction, that's my brother. He does all my beats. His YouTube channel will be linked in the description below. Make sure you guys go give him a follow. Also, if you want to know where you can find any tools that you seen in this video, links will be in the description below. Otherwise, you guys can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. My TikTok is official360Jeezy and my Instagram is 360Jeezy. But it's your boy 360 Jeezy, and I'm out of here.